Hey, here we are again. It's Thursday, 9 o'clock here in the UK in the evening. So that means it's once again UK Cowboys time. Are we all doing, guys?
Hey.
Yeah.
Good.
It's near the weekend.
Yeah. Everybody doing good? Yeah, we're almost there.
Yeah.
So, in usual style, tomorrow will be the UK Cowboys Funky Time Friday video. A very nice one for this week. Yeah. But yeah, getting a little bit closer, and also a little bit closer to getting out of LD.
Yes.
Well, you guys might be.
We're almost
yeah,
there.
me and Graham are in a situation where we it'll be told one thing this day, then the next day will be the other, and next one we're back in lockdown version 35.
Yeah, well, I don't want to say anything, but your Prime Minister or whatever you want to call First Minister, yeah, she'll probably come up with some excuse, but I can't say anything. Wales First Minister, he's like anti-alcohol, all religion, so like, yeah, our pubs will probably not be open until like next year, probably.
Well, it sounds as though he's not going to get re-elected next time.
yeah. But also, welcome to everybody at home watching and joining us and seeing a lot of the regulars. Good to see you all, guys. Good to see you joining us. As we say every week, you are our
DJ Dog checking in from Oz.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah. It's good to see you guys. Always nice to see the messages. As always, guys, make sure you message in, give us your thoughts, your comments, your quotes. If you agree, even if you disagree, we like the ones that disagree. They're our favorites. So yes, get your comments in. This week it's talking. So last week we looked at the offensive prospects on the prospect radar for the Dallas Cowboys. This week it's on to something a bit more interesting. I can see a lot of nodding heads there and happy faces. Yeah, it's all about the defense this week. Got some takes for you, some hot takes. Yeah, got some stats. Because let's get your take, guys. If you was to look at the three parts of the Cowboys roster or teams, if you like, we'll get to that in a minute. If you look at the three parts of the Cowboys teams, offense, defense, and special teams, are we all in agreement defense is what is in need of tweaking the most?
Tweaking is an understatement.
Tweaking's been polite.
I'm being polite. I'm being polite. I'm being polite.
A whole kick up the arse is needed for the defense.
Right, I think
I'm gonna speak out on this.
Go for it.
I'm kind of annoyed with what DeMarcus Lawrence is doing on social media right now. Like the way what he's posting there, trying like bringing out the hot boys. It's like D-Law. We have no right to even push that stuff right now, considering the season that we've had. Just stop posting social media. Get yourself back in the off season. Get yourself proper fit, and come out guns blazing. Unless we're going to be like one of the top 5 defenses in the league, then you can start saying, "Oh, hot boys this and hot boys that." That's the way we should be doing things.
Do you know, I've said it a couple of times. Don't be surprised. I know we've got needs on the offensive line, but don't be surprised that if this whole draft is defense, would not surprise me.
I would go as far as to say there is no defensive unit we couldn't look at 10. That's just that's going to be a caveat for the show. I think we could upgrade any position on defense at 10.
I think the issue really more than anything stems from the foundation. Like, basically, what is the identity of the Cowboys defense? Like, what are they? Like, you can't say, can you?
It should be smash mouth football. It should be smash mouth football. That's the way we should be doing things. We should be like our defensive front, our front seven should be getting in people's faces and causing disruption to every quarterback we're playing up against. We had very lack of like. There's been more. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, there was moments through the season. There was particular games that we really just stood out, which kind of.
It's a big game.
Yeah, that we had that reminiscence of like. I felt like we were watching the Hot Boys when we were on the Rod Marinelli at one point, but but when you consider the whole season overall, we were really poor, very poor overall.
I don't know about Hot Boys. Maybe rename them to Plenty Points. That's what they were giving up.
Yeah, I mean, what's ironic is
Austin, don't do that to me, please.
We've had that argument last week.
I'm losing enough hair as it is, guys. I'm losing enough hair as it is.
I have noticed that since you started doing this show, you're getting bolder.
Just, I feel like I'm no longer 34 years old, mate. I feel like I'm fucking 75 years old with a bloody 25-year-old bloody beard.
Right, okay.
If that makes sense.
Let's start the show off as we do every week, though. Well, we started off with some random natter, and then we'll break into it. So get into the news and updates. So first of all, let's get to the good news. So the good news is Tyron Smith and Lyle Collins both seen working out in the gym, working hard with their trainers, rehabbing nicely, apparently above schedule. They are ahead of schedule. Everything's looking good. Even Lyle Collins' agent came out and turned around and said, I've spoken to Lyle Collins. The rumors about him retiring due to health conditions are false. I think the buzzword, he was using all the usual buzzwords, but one of the big ones he came out and said, Lyle Collins is more committed than ever to trying to win a Super Bowl. And you're like, okay, it's buzzwordy, but we get what you're saying. Yeah. We get the point. Brilliant.
Yeah,
that is a great comment for Austin there. Get those players bubble wrapped till the start of the season.
Yeah.
Classic agent talk. 2.0. It is comforting to hear that he's not thinking about doing something
retirement.
Well, I think that was our biggest worry, wasn't it, Graham? That was our biggest worry.
It was. It was.
Because I generally thought that Tyron Smith was going to retire this season, as I did thought Sean Lee was. But apparently Sean Lee's going to be playing still, apparently.
Apparently so, yeah.
Just thinking of those two, and we know, and I'm basing this off just on what we've had for Tyron Smith, say, the last 18 months or so. Which one would you be more scared of losing? The Tyron Smith that we've got now, or Lyle Collins?
Lyle Collins.
Yeah.
Lyle Collins. I think
based on the age.
Based on age.
Yeah, and not just that. Like Collins can be quite flexible. He can play in the guard position quite easily.
He can. He did well. That's where he started for the Cowboys, and then they kicked him out to tackle.
Yeah, but I think he was much more effective as a guard. But he's actually proven to be a really fantastic right tackle as well.
Yeah, more than adequate. More than adequate.
Oh yeah. This is why he was touted at the time as a first round prospect, if not one of the top first rounders until that whole scenario and he became undrafted. So
people jumping out of windows incident.
Yeah, that one. But yeah, if it was me, it would definitely be Lyle Collins. Whereas Tyron Smith, when you think about the 18 months, we've actually played nearly more than 3/4 without him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it wouldn't made that much of a obviously if he is playing, it will make up a difference. But when you put it in the perspective of 18 months, yeah.
But to that point though, I made a huge case for offensive tackle early in the draft, and nothing's changed. To see the two guys back is great for the offensive line, great for the morale of the offense.
Still need a lot of help,
but nothing's changed. Nothing's changed. You're still expecting at least, I suppose you're expecting at least 3 games to be missed by Tyron Smith. So you have to address that straight away, and we haven't even hit pre-season yet. You know, it's easy to be fully fit in the off season.
Yep,
very true. But we'll just keep an eye on that, and we'll keep, as always, on our page and the group and everywhere else on our social media. We'll keep you updated, and we'll keep our ear to the ground on those 2 stories, speaking to people over there within the building who will give us information, not saying any names who leak that to us, though. So keep that under your hats, people. But the other news is Dak and his agent and the Dallas Cowboys. It has
They're
been
talking.
reported this week. They are officially in talks. The big one that came out for me with the news was that the Cowboys side, the management, came out and said, yeah, we are in talks. Everything's looking good. We're looking to get it done before March the 9th, which is the franchise tag date, and they only want to use the franchise tag as a last resort.
Yeah.
So I think we're all in agreement, though, that this needs to be done ASAP. Otherwise, episode 103. No, wait. 101. No, we're on episode 104. Episode 101, where we looked at the quarterbacks, becomes the most important show we did all off season. But they have said tag is a last resort. Any of you guys making anything of that? Do you think it's buzz talk, or are you happy?
I'm not too concerned about it, because I don't know if I would use the tag on anybody else. Mm-hmm. So if they have to use it on Dak to give them a bit more time, fair enough.
Yeah.
But I still fully expect it to get done.
I think the tag is going to be a case of if they have to, just to stop him walking out the building.
Yeah.
I just hate the fact we're going to be doing like if that was the case, we're going to be doing a Kirk Cousins 2.0. Yeah,
it can happen.
Because you saw what happened after, not putting this in a different scenario, but I found many times if players have been in the franchise tag, it doesn't really send a good message out at all. Like, they always tend to go and move on to different pastures after the franchise tag, but we'll see. But hopefully we'll get the deal done, hopefully.
I think, isn't it over history as well? There's only ever been, if Dak plays on the tag this year, he'll only be the third player ever in history to play on the tag for 2 years in a row.
And no players ever played on 3.
So Cousins was the second, right?
Yeah.
Who was the first?
I never found that out.
I could
guys, if you're in the guys in the comments, if you know who it is, who was the first player to be franchise tagged 2 years in a row, put them in the comments, because I'm very curious to know. But I'm always about NFL history. I'm sure
it's a QB. I think it's either QB or running back. I could be wrong, but I'm sure I read a name somewhere. Drew Brees sticks up soon, but I don't think it was him. It's only been 3.
Yes, but that is our news and updates. We will very quickly, though, as we do every week, pay the bills. So, yes, if you're looking to go to a game this year, make sure you book it through Cowboys Experience. They got game day tickets, stadium tours, and tailgate parties you won't want to miss. You see some, you get to meet players and get to see some very crazy stuff going on, some dancing people up on the stage. Yeah. But all the details on the screen, as we say every week when we show this. If you go to one of them, make sure you send us pictures and videos of that. They go instantly on our social media, make you famous, kind of, especially in the UK anyway. And also, make sure you use the code UK Cowboys, because what do you get, guys?
Well, Rich has kind of just beat me to it.
There you go. Get some free stuff.
Perfect timing, Rich. Perfect timing,
that
bro.
is very well done. But yes, guys, got any favorite players on defense specifically this week? Let us know. We will bring on that. But also, thank you very much, Steve. He brought up some other news and update that is literally just coming through. Russell Wilson. The Seahawks are looking to trade him. It has been a conversation that's been going on for a few weeks. I know,
ridiculous.
Honestly,
it is ridiculous.
Like this, I think this is going to be one of the craziest off seasons I've seen when it comes to quarterbacks right now. Like you're seeing Stafford, Goff, Deshaun Watson now wants to move away. You're seeing now Russell Wilson now going away. Like, I mean, what the hell is going on?
Yeah, for years. I mean, Russell Wilson has been that offense for years.
Yeah.
If there are 3 QBs in the league, I would want to lead a 2-minute offense. One of them is Russell Wilson.
Absolutely.
He's got a very interesting list of teams that he would only consider leaving for.
I know, I've seen that myself.
He did mention us, did
not? 2 of the teams on there
he did.
surprised me. Because he mentioned the
As much
players,
as
and
much as I would love to see Russell Wilson in the Cowboys uniform, as much as I would love to, but I just do not see it happening.
not
Because-
for the reported they want at least at minimum 3 first rounders.
Yeah,
I like
it's-
this. I'm not looking for
See,
3
so,
first rounders.
see, this is the argument right here. Is what are we willing to give away, and what is going to happen if we, like, see, for example, we do get Dak on a long-term deal. Who's going to be coming up to come trade for him instead? We can't have 2 elite quarterbacks on those big, massive contracts.
Yeah.
Probably have to be one of them.
I mean, this is great news for Dak's agent, to be perfectly honest, because so many teams are rolling the dice on.
I don't know about that, Austin. I don't know about that, mate. Because they just got a tour.
No,
Yeah.
that's not going to happen.
I think
there
he's
is
put a list of
though.
5 teams, haven't they?
Yeah, but there is some talk, mind you, that the
Later,
Dolphins
DJ
are on the
Dog.
fence.
You
with
take care of
Tua.
yourself, my friend. You take care, dude.
Yeah, always good to see everyone. As I said, keep sending those comments in, guys. But yeah, we'll keep our ear to the ground on that. I don't think there's much in it, mind, in this whole
It's Jerry
Russell.
Jones.
I think it might.
It's Jerry Jones 101. It's media talk. It's Jerry Jones 101. He is basically stirring the pot. That's
Yeah,
what he
but
does.
I don't. This talk with Russell Wilson's coming from the Seahawks, though, not. Not
but you know
from-
what? But you know what the Cowboys media is all about. They'll just they'll source it out and they'll amplify it by tenfold. Texas will be jumping for screaming, oh my god, you heard about Russell Wilson? Yeah. So what? Nothing's happened. Nothing's happened.
But okay then, guys, let's get into the defensive positions and we'll run down who you guys like. I'll give you some takes, I'll give you some scouting reports, let you guys talk as well back home if you want us to talk about any particular player. But let's start right at the very top. Defensive lineman. So Paul's wheelhouse here, definitely likes this one. So first of all, guys, the first thing I want to get into this is I think this is probably the first year in quite a few years, really, where there hasn't really been that, and it's usually defensive line because pass rushers take the top on the defensive line, where you haven't got that standout defensive player. There's some great first round, high potential players, but there's not that one guy at the top. Like we've had Chase Young, who is sitting at the top.
Yeah.
You can go through the list over the last few years. There's always been that one top guy. This year not being the case. Very offensive, lopsided, if you like, which is quite a rarity. But just if you was to take, just as an argument, right, just so I can get an opinion off you three, if you was to take a defensive player very early, like in the top 5, what player would that be? Just your first defensive player off the board.
Any position are you talking?
Any you want. Who's just your top guy?
Cornerback.
Cornerback. Surtain for you?
For me, it's a bit out of left field.
Go on, go for it.
I would go. Do you know what I'm going to say? I would go Micah Parsons.
Micah Parsons. Interesting.
Simply because of who was Arizona's top pick from last year? It escapes me. The Swiss Army knife.
Yeah. I know who it begins with S.
That's annoying me.
Yeah.
But just in terms of the kind of
Parsons,
versatility
from Penn State.
Mm-hmm.
Simmons.
Simmons.
Yes. Right, I forgot about
Simmons.
Parsons.
Yes.
I'm
just
wary,
come to me now.
Wary of past history. I mean, I know it's difficult to judge cornerbacks right out of the block, but for instance, the Cowboys going up to get Morris Claiborne. The Lions taking Ogba. That going up high for a corner. I don't know if adding a corner that high is going to make your defense that much better because there's so much field to deal with. But like you said, there's no ultimate blue chip day one. Off to the
Early
Hall of Fame.
pick. Yeah.
I'd have to think
So
about
who
it.
have you got then, Paul? Are you going? I know you said cornerback. So are you going Satane or are you going Caleb Farley?
I don't know actually. I'm even tempted to even linebacker as well because we're so out of depth for linebacker. So I would even say Micah Parsons from Penn State.
So you're going Micah Parsons too?
Yeah,
Okay.
like the more I think about it, if you're basing it based on how the draft order's looking right now, if we're in the top 5 and based on how all these players are being ranked right now, I would probably go with Micah Parsons and because of the depth and stuff like that.
Okay, interesting.
I just think with Parsons,
the reason I ask, go on.
Because the more I'm thinking about it, because our West Coast made a wee point earlier, like if we were to get another rookie cornerback, like don't get me wrong, Diggs has been an exception this year. He's been our best corner, but not always two duo, like pretty much still two rookie cornerbacks have always been a good combination. You still need a more experienced guy in there as well to. Like,
yeah, I do.
So you know where I'm coming from in terms of that. So
yes, I know what you're saying, and I totally think that one of the I've got, which I'm going to do a little write up that I've done of the Cowboys' top 5 steps to get better this year, and like step number 3 is sign a veteran cornerback. So me and you were on the same page on that one. Or 3, yeah. But what's interesting is everybody left out, and this is why I asked the question, because everybody will say the same thing. You'll talk about Caleb Farley, Patrick Surtain, Micah Parsons. Some people will throw in Owusu Koromoa, who I've watched tape on, and I've decided he's not a linebacker anymore. We'll get to that a bit later. But everybody misses out 2 guys on the defensive line quite early. Quitty Pay and the guy who we did the ad for this week, Christian Barmore.
Yeah, I would go with Barmore hands down, but I would see him more being in the second round, depending on what other teams are going for.
Yeah, I mean, we'll do an episode later on down the line. I think we've got it booked for April, the beginning of April, which is our trade up and trade down options. Barmore, for me, I'm in the same line as you, Paul. I would like Christian Barmore, but I'd have to see the Cowboys trade out of pick number 10 to make that a more efficient pick. Yeah, when you go through your draft sequencing, which is what it's all about, draft sequencing, that in order for me to start off strong, I need to get something in return for that pick to get the rest of my draft sequence down. So yeah, picking Christian Barmore at 10 would be a bit rich for me. But yeah, for me though, I'm out on Micah Parsons as an early pick for the Cowboys. We'll get to the linebackers a bit later, but any of you guys, are you interested at all in the Quitty Pay pick, the edge defender from Michigan?
Take him top 10. Maybe early teens, around 13, 14 maybe.
So once again, another...
If we trade down to maybe like 15th, 16th, then yeah, that may be a question to think about. Should we go there?
Okay. That's interesting. So basically, this guy, Quitty Pay, right? Just so you know, big guy, right? Got issues with him in positive and a negative, right? The guy is 6'4". I don't think he's 6'4", mind. He looks a little bit shorter than that. 272 pounds, right? Watch him.
So for his size, he's quite lean when you think about it.
Not when you look at him. This guy's got muscle on muscle. Like, look at him. There's more muscles on him than you would expect to see on a human being.
When I mean lean, like there's not a lot of excess.
No, yeah, he's not bulky. He's not an anchor type guy. This is the type of guy you'd want on the strong side of your line. So on the strong side, defending the edge that way. Yeah, but so the guy this week, right, 272 pounds. You run the 3-cone, right, in his pro day, and you can watch the video on it, right? The guy run a 6.37 3-cone. Now there are wide receivers who can't even do that. DK Metcalf was nearly double that.
Just to put this in perspective as well about the size of this guy, right? He's not as big. He's not as big as Aaron Donald. Aaron Donald's 285 pounds.
Yeah. But I mean, you're talking more inside guy again. But yeah. I see where you're going there. The issue I've got, right, with Quitty Pay. Now, the good thing is, fits everything you would think with Dan Quinn, with the sort of role that he had with
the
Michael
type of style of football we play. Yep.
Yeah. Very, he likes his quick, shorter guys. When you look at the Seahawks and the Falcons defense, it's all short, quick, snappy type guys, very quick twitch, and that is what Quitty Pay is. The issue I have with him is, first of all, his hands, and he opens up his body very easily for offensive linemen to get on him. But this is a guy over 4 years who only had 11 sacks. And a lot of people, right, and you'll see this argument a lot, right? And they go, no, never draft players based on stats, right? Totally agree with you. But you mean to tell me a guy that very rarely sacked the quarterback in college is suddenly going to do that in the NFL?
Yeah. That does raise a lot of questions, to be fair. For me,
I know you don't go stats in some aspects, but then if his production sack-wise is low, then I'd like to just see how many double teams he got and how many times he pressured the quarterback. Because
not a lot.
So then you go. So if he's not a lot, then it's like, is he really worth? Is he going to make that bounce to the next level? Now, if those two of the stats were a bit higher, he obviously looks productive and he knows how to get through the line. Then you would say, yeah, do you know what? Maybe so. But if it's low across all three boards, then no.
Yeah. I mean, go on, go for it, Paul.
See what you just kind of said there, Mike. Where it comes to like, he's not really had so many sacks and stuff like that. Yeah, that's a bit of a concern, to be honest, because especially when it comes to college football, it's normally more a bit of a frenzy when it comes to college football.
Yeah,
really,
it's like
can be. Yeah,
it's like if the stats are low, the argument for that is, well, he's a raw talent and he's on the ascendancy.
Lord,
and he's going
I cannot
somewhere.
agree anymore.
But the problem is, do you want to do that in the first round?
Yeah.
And if you're taking a first round player, he starts day one. So do you get what I mean? It's like if the stats aren't there right now.
The other thing you got to think about with taking a guy like Quitty Pay as well, an edge defender really, is we've got Tank on one side who's just causing havoc over there, and forces. Really? He does. I'm telling you that he brings up double teams. I know what you're going to say about sack numbers, but I'm not saying
that. I'm not saying that. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, what you're saying is true. He is causing more double teams and whatever and that. But
he causes havoc over there.
I wouldn't say havoc. It's not still getting. It's not.
If you watch the flow of the ball as well, if you watch a lot of the flow of the ball, that you got to understand where sacks come from. If you look at what comes up on the strong side, so you look at like Randy Gregory. People say, and he's good. Yeah, but it's all flowing that way because of what Tank does. But anyway, arguing on that you've got him on that side and you've got Randy on the other side doing his thing, taking what he can grab, doing exactly what he needs to do, being an anchor on that side of the line. You're going to take Quitty Pay. He's going to be a backside guy, so he's going to be your third guy in rotation. Do you want to take a guy like that who's going to be, like Graham said, first round guy? You're going to take an edge effect, and then he's going to sit round on rotation behind Randy Gregory.
Nope.
No, I wouldn't do it on two fronts. I wouldn't do it because for a first round pick, you've got to start day one, and for the fact that he wouldn't be the best player available either.
No, and not just that. And Lauren made this point, and I mentioned this earlier before we went on air, is the fact that he's from Michigan. Last time he drafted a first-round Michigan player was Tackle Charlton, and look where that ended up. Same position.
Just with
honestly, And it's funny that you just mentioned, like, see, I keep mentioning you mentioned all about these stats. Charlton never had all these stats, but somehow he was projected to be a first-round draft pick.
Yeah,
And when you look, but when you look at the film and stuff like that, yeah, there was glimpses and stuff like that, but it was other players in the second and third round who are causing more destruction and who are doing actually a lot better than who are still in the league right now. I mean, is Charlton right now actually doing anything right now? Is he actually signed to a team anymore?
I think he is. Yeah.
Let me
I
find
think
out.
he's signed, but he's buried on the depth chart. But I can see the idea. I can see the idea behind, if you want to go back on that Taco's, drafting Taco there. I can see why they did it, but yeah, it just never paid off. More than anything with Taco, I think it was more of a drive more than anything. But
what would you be happy with, though? So just kind of, because we've mentioned a couple of names. So would you be? Yeah. Would you be more happier to trade back, say, just as an example, maybe like late teens to draft Quitty Pay, or trade back to late teens and kind of reach a little bit for Balmore?
If I was drafting back into the teens, makes it more of an option, but I would still find it a hard sell if they took him. If they traded back and then took him.
But if it was between the two, which one would you rather kind of go back and, like you say, and Quitty Pay be that guy that kind of maybe sits a little bit and plays behind someone, or reach a little bit for Balmore, knowing that he could probably come in and start day one, maybe?
Well, let's look at Christian Barmore, right? So that's the next guy on our list that we was looking at. If you want to go...
Just before you start on Barmore, I just want to kind of point out, I'm pretty sure that the talk about that...
Quitty Pay.
He's actually been talked about as within the top 10 now.
He could be. More through athletic testing, that his numbers are just through the roof. And like you watch him, the motor and the athlete, so the everything's there for him. Like if you said there's a 272-pound guy and he's going to run a 3-cone in a 636, then you go like, okay, yeah, and you go do a drawing of how that guy would look. That's how you would draw that guy, Quitty Pay. Just this massive, bulky, muscular, sculpture of a guy, right? And that is what he is. But the bit that scares me is just the sack numbers. And I think, like, last year he played, so 2020, he played like 4 games, got 2 sacks, and then just went, I'm opting out. And that's what scares me with it.
Yeah, is the motor there. Yeah.
And the instincts. The instincts is what it is.
I keep going back to as day one he steps in the league, he's going to be going up against the best 32 players in the world, as opposed to college prospects.
Yeah.
Who prospect players in the NFL that have seen it, done it, and the production scares me. I mean, you hear all the time the Raiders used to draft speed. The Raiders always love speed on offense with the wide receivers. It never got them anywhere.
Didn't feck.
So I just I don't want a project in the first round.
Okay.
Yeah.
So JB,
I'm with you. I'm sick of projects.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I totally. I'm giving you the positive and negative, and let you guys make the comments. The next guy you was all talking about, or the name was mentioned, Christian Barmore.
Yeah.
Now this guy absolutely reminds me of Gerald McCoy. This is Gerald McCoy in an Alabama jersey. Big guy, 310, 6'5", young as well. So this guy, for a guy his size, really flexible. You would not believe like how bendy this guy is. Hands, something we mentioned, Paul. Hands, very, very good. Playing from the 3 and he's played across the line.
He's very diverse within the inside.
Yeah, you see him playing in the A gap, the B gap, and even as like a 5 tech as well, being pushed outside.
So 5 techs out to the edge.
Yes, right out to the edge. You see a lot of that, and he does as well get a lot of power behind those arms. The issue I have with him is this year, or in 2020, there were a number of games, more than one, maybe even more than 2, where he literally just disappeared. And I mean, I'm talking 0 sacks, 0 pressures, like nothing.
Yeah, he's inconsistent.
Inconsistent is what the issue is with him. But I mean, what do you guys think? Does he fit the 3 tech, or do you think perhaps we're going to see Tristan Hill come back, Gerald McCoy come back, so fits this spot? Do you think that this is more of a better route to go down than looking at a guy like Christian Barmore, trading down and then getting a guy like Christian Barmore? Is that more in your wheelhouse?
Well, I remember a few weeks ago I asked for the first guy off the bus. You know, the big guy that brushes both sides of the door when he walks through it. You know, Barmore might be that guy, but again, not a first-round talent.
Yeah.
Daniel Jeremiah has him ranked 41st, so that's second round.
See,
but the problem is though, Graham. The problem is though,
Graham. It brings you kind of back to the thing he done it. Kind of quote the Blind Side. It's like looks like Tarzan but plays like Jane. Like you say, you just don't want it. There's no point being that guy and just disappearing and not playing. Exactly.
Here's the question, guys. Didn't they say that McCoy's coming back? We don't know. I don't know. Yeah. What is the news?
No, they're trying. So basically, they did release him. So there is whether he wants to come back from a team that released him from that. At the end of the day, it's the NFL. This is the game that they're in. I don't think there's any bad blood there, from what I've heard.
It was a business decision. It was a business decision to get.
Yeah. I don't think he's like in a, from what I've heard from talking to the guys over in Dallas, there's no bad blood there. They want to bring him back. I think talking about the 5 steps to make Dallas great. Like literally the next thing that was on my list was sign a big veteran offensive lineman. Gerald McCoy, you've got that relationship. You've been in talks.
Defensive lineman.
I think defensive lineman even, yeah. Apparently they've talked. What goes from there, who knows? Yep. Free agency market opens next week. We'll soon know.
Right. Yeah, this year's going to be even more crazy, I think.
It's going to be a riot.
Yeah.
Oh,
absolute riot. Because to my knowledge, we haven't re-signed anybody.
No. Not one.
No. Which tells you quite a bit. But let's move on to the next guy. Now, this guy I absolutely love. He's one of my favorite defensive players in the first round. And that's Jason Ower from Penn State. Now, this guy, he is rapid. I mean, one of the most defensive, fastest defensive linemen this year. I mean, like, the tools he has, the guy is a freak, right? Do you know what he reminds me of? If you've watched much of him, Montez Sweat. You know, that straight line?
Yeah.
Just speed. You're just like, holy crap. Now, here's my talk. I'll say this again when we talk about the defensive backs later. This defense, the Cowboys defense, I think what is lacking the most is speed. You look at it across the board. Defensive back, linebacker, defensive lineman. Everything's clunky and slow. This guy instantly ups your speed rate by like 90% by bringing him in. I mean, honestly, he literally chases running backs down in the backfield. That's how fast he is. Unbelievably quick. The only issue then, moving on to the other side of the issues, doesn't have much bend or agility. And you see a lot of passiveness that he loses that violence. At some point during the game, you'll see it, and it just fizzles out. And you think, well, where's that gone? Well, why? What's happened? I don't know if it's a coaching issue. But, I mean, this man, I mean, Jesus. Like, if we look at his senior year, right? His senior year, 13 sacks and 10 tackles for a loss. In one... And forget about the rest of it, the tackles and everything. I mean, the guy is unbelievably quick. Is that somebody that interests you as well, guys? Or are you still... I mean, this is going back down the draft, mind, to take a guy like this. Is that a guy for you, or are you looking at maybe like another direction, like Gregory Rousseau?
I think it's.
Well, I mean, we've just gone on about stats.
It just depends on when you get back.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We've gone on about stats, and now you've just rounded off some good stats. So, certainly, I mean, where are you thinking? Early day one, early.
He's a day.
Day one, early two.
He would not. He won't make it to day 2. He's gone. This guy is going to go early.
First 15.
Possibly, I could say. If a team's getting itchy feet and they trade up, it'll be for this guy.
I mean, they certainly say that pass rush kind of elevates your pick, especially if you're
Instantly.
a first rounder.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, it all depends on, like, if we can find a partner to trade back with. But again, it's getting somebody to jump up to 10. I would like to have like a list of 5 guys when we're at 10, and then start taking phone calls for pick 16, pick 17, pick 18, so on. So it's just as somebody falls, and we've got options that we know where we're going with the pick we're getting. You know what I mean?
I'll be honest with you, if Kyle Pitts is in our lap at number 10, and you'd only expect to see phone calls, easily.
I think so too. I think so too. I wonder where that was going.
Easily.
I thought
the
I've got
amount
it.
of teams that would love to get a player like him and try and trade up and get him, and we would have all the power. We can get multiple first round picks and probably even a second.
There's also that we could pull the trigger on him as well though, at 10. I get what you mean, like saying
nope.
You could
it's not happening.
He won't make it that far.
No.
He won't make it that far. He's gone. I think he's gone before pick 8.
He'll be going to the Eagles, I think.
It would be nice to be able to hold somebody to ransom, like you say, to get another 1, maybe another 2 as well. It'd be nice, like.
Yeah.
Are we fuck, Austin? Are we fuck?
But like I say, the next guy that people do talk about is Gregory Rousseau. Unbelievable. Again, the stats, the numbers are there. The issue for me, which obviously I'm not going to go much about, is this guy had a very bad ankle injury. I don't know how that's going to affect him. And this is, with a guy who needs to be bendy, and he doesn't have...
How long ago was it, though? How long ago? That's the question. How long ago was the injury?
I think it was his sophomore year he caught the injury, his second year.
Right, so, and how many years ago was that now? 2 years. So, that should be much of an issue. I would be more concerned if it was like the first season coming back, because the muscle could still be that tender stage.
Yeah, I know you're going. Yeah.
But he's had more time to kind of let it develop and like... You know what I mean, but
yeah. I mean, because what it is that with Gregory Rousseau that people keep missing is that he doesn't have a lot of power.
Wait, what?
Fuck. But I mean, like Gregory Rousseau, he's not a powerful edge defender. He's more of the bendy defender, very bendy, very flexible. Like his first step is where it all comes from. So I just worry with a guy like that who's had an ankle injury, what type of player you're going to be getting to the next level. But the stats, again, are there with him. The next guy, really, I wanted to talk about, who is a guy we spoke about before the Senior Bowl. And this is a guy I told you, Paul, to look at. And that is the defensive lineman Marvin Wilson.
Yeah, he looks pretty good.
Have you had chance, sir, to take a look at him?
I've seen a couple of clips.
Okay. So what are you thinking? Are you seeing the same thing as me, that Neville Gallimore type?
To a certain extent, yeah. To a certain extent.
Yeah.
I think it'll be more or less a same version of Gallimore, where it will be a couple of years till we see his full potential, if I'm being perfectly honest with you. I don't think he'll be one of those players that you can just plug in and that's it, like what me and Graham are expecting. We draft a player, he comes in, and that's it. I think he'll be like a year 2 guy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because I mean,
but the attributes are there.
Yeah, the hands.
Yeah.
To be fair,
Throw in.
there's a lot of defensive prospects feel that way this year. Like you said, there's no.
That's the
No
problem.
disrespect, there's not like an Aaron Donald kind of player in there. Do you know what I mean? That high echelon blue chip player.
Well, here's the thing. Aaron Donald was not really actually considered as a blue chip player. Like really, like considering what his college career was like, he had pretty much nearly 10 plus sacks nearly every season in college. But yet he fell down the board. People went for Khalil Mack instead. Don't get me wrong, he's a great player as well. But people passed the buck on the smaller colleges, like in terms of Pittsburgh Panthers and stuff like that. Still a great team, but because of Aaron Donald at the time. But man, if it was me, I would start kind of maybe like looking at all these different players from different schools and stuff like that, like the ones that we're not actually talking about. Like for example, who was the offensive lineman that we were talking about?
From Whitewater, Quinn Miners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's guaranteed going to be some players. I'm going to try and start watching all the players that I've never even heard of from all these different schools I've never heard of, and see if there's something that really sparks it. Because they're the guys that are going to be more hungry. They may actually have the physical attributes. It's just It's just because the school that they're at, they're not actually getting the full exposure. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Because I mean, the only other guy really I would want to see the Cowboys taking in the first round if they trade it back would be, and this guy I really love, is Azeez Ojulari from Georgia. Of all the pass rushers, this guy is the most polished in terms of the tools that he has.
Do you see
absolutely amazing?
I see that this is kind of backs up my point here, Mike. Do you see the pattern where we're starting here? It's like the guys more further back, the more sound they sound.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. The guys that are like supposed to be the number one defensive tackle going into the draft, they're put there for some stupid reason. They have so many flaws. They don't have the stats. Whereas all these other guys who might have the higher numbers are further back in the draft. It makes no sense to me.
I think
you know what I mean? It makes no sense.
You and I are thinking the same. We're looking at value.
Yeah.
You know, you're not going to get value in the first round, but there's plenty of talent in the second round to get better value.
Absolutely. And the thing is, what is the stats from the guy from Georgia? Just for clarity, like, is it more than the guys before?
Let me bring his stats up. But what it is with Azeez is just his unbelievable traits. His pass rush tools are just insane. And do you know the saying for defensive linemen is stay low and go. This guy he gets low on his cornering, like he's practically horizontal, coming round on the edge, and you just see it. And in terms of like stacking his pass rush moves, so when he needs to go through that, you'll just see it. He just goes through them moves, and he's always got a plan. The only issue with him is that he is a 1 year wonder.
Sometimes one of the 1 year wonders actually end up being the biggest surprise of them all.
Let me bring up Ojulari, right?
I mean, take Joe Burrow. I mean, don't get me wrong. Take Joe Burrow. He's like you would consider him as a 1 year wonder.
Yeah, true.
Even though a different position, but just putting that in perspective. He went first overall to the Bengals, and he actually did all right until his injury.
Yeah, well, you look Azeez Ojulari in his last year, 10 sacks. So then when we go back to Kwity Paye. Yeah, Kwity Paye.
When you compare that to the guy supposed to be number one, and I'm not having a dig at Michigan. Well, actually, I'm having a dig at Michigan, but for a team like Michigan, how are they so high up the board? And we've already covered about the guy saying it has so many flaws, and I'll be perfectly honest, we've not actually mentioned very many positives about the guy that's supposed to be the #1 defensive lineman.
He's strong. He's powerful.
Every
Creepy
defensive lineman's strong,
yeah.
Mike. Every one of them is strong.
Well, this is the issue with Azeez Ojulari. Issue you've got with him is he is slight. Hold on, let me bring his stat. Once I tell you, you'll be like, ooh, he's a very slight guy. Even when you look at him, I mean, he's 6'2" and barely 240 pounds. And like
Again,
he does struggle
facts,
with power.
Austin, facts, mate, facts.
This is a guy that does struggle with power. That is his big downfall. But I mean, the other guys, I don't know if you want to talk about them. You've got Jalen Phillips as well, another good guy that you could take, but again, later down the line. And Carlos Basham as well from Wake Forest. And I like Carlos Basham, but not for the first round. Is there any other guys on the defensive line you want to talk about, though, guys?
Not that I can really think of it. Like that's the thing, though. When it comes to the defensive line this year, there's not really much of a great depth this year. There really isn't.
In terms of depth, yeah, it's short. Like I personally, if I was going to go for a guy in the second round in terms of defensive tackle, it'd be NC State's Ali McNeil. A great pickup in the second round if they were going to go down that road. And I think for a guy for like Dan Quinn, perfect fit. But is
linebacker? What's a
linebacker? Let me get that one fixed. There we go. All right then, guys. Is linebacker then a sneaky need, do you think?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I don't think it's a sneaky need.
Of all things considering, right? How many games have we already out of Sean Lee? How many games have we already out of Leighton Vander Esch? That's the big question. And is Jalen Smith going to actually stick to his absolute job role despite what, like, I like Jalen Smith, but if he just stuck to his own actual goal, even though his production in terms of statistics will drop, but he will become more effective in terms of the actual team performance. And we saw that in the Pittsburgh game, especially.
Yeah.
So, for me, when we're looking at the linebacker position, we didn't really have anyone else to come in. We had Justin March come in. Like he done great. Like for what he had to do, I thought he did an alright job. But he is a backup. End of the day, it really is. But when we only had 5 guys, maybe even 6, when we brought in who was the kid with the long hair? It was phenomenal during off season last year. What's his name?
I know the guy you're on about. Damn it! It's on the tip of my tongue.
Yeah.
Anyway,
he had
keep going.
Interceptions and stuff like that. Like I can't remember his name, but he was balling during practices and stuff like that.
Yeah, and then just slid off.
Well, he wasn't even put into the number 53 at first. He was put to the practice squad. Then we brought him in. Then we just put into special teams. But the fact is, we still literally had no rotation at all, really, for our linebackers. And whenever Leighton was out, we pretty much were like stuck. We were bringing practice players in, left, right, and center, and we literally do think it's a big need. Like literally anyone in our defensive positions right now, whether you're a defensive tackle, like I would put linebacker above D line in general.
Francis Bernard,
that's the guy.
There we go. God, I was bugging.
To me, if you're talking about priority in terms of positions in our draft, it would be cornerback, linebacker, then D line. But
yeah.
But linebacker, cornerback can be a toss of 50-50 because we could get a good decent corner in the off season in terms of free agency with a bit more experience. We can, but I would say linebacker is a much more desperate need. I'll be perfectly honest.
I think that
Gifford as well. Don't forget Gifford as well. Gifford was the other linebacker as well.
Yes.
And in fact, our Mr. Lauren Callahan has actually provided that as well. Thanks, bro.
There we go. Yeah. But I mean, like, look, you guys said at the start of the show, because we were talking about linebacker, about Micah Parsons. The issue I've got with Micah Parsons,
if he falls to number 10, by sure we are taking him.
Yeah, but here's my issue is that for me, when I watch Micah Parsons, right, first of all, you've got the injury concerns. And secondly, I wonder, like, when you watch him play, he is a Sam linebacker. So do you think that's a bit early to be taking a Sam?
Not necessarily. No.
You don't think so?
No.
For me, I do. I don't want to be drafting a Sam.
Yeah,
Maybe it's a bit rich for me.
Like I said at the top of the show when you asked us, Mike, I don't think there's a blue chip on D this year. That is one of the kind of the base levels to my desire to take a tackle first.
Yeah.
Because I don't think there's a top 10 talent on defense this year. You could argue there's a cornerback in there or not, but is he going to affect a game for that much compared to when Tyron Smith goes out? Are we not better keeping our offense on the field as opposed to fixing one side of the defense? Because there's a whole load of field to play with. Do you get what I mean? Anyway, to go back to the linebacker point, to Paul's point, yes, absolutely, because Sean Lee's a free agent, Joe Thomas is a free agent, and we started last season with 5, so there's 2 already that aren't there.
Right. But here's a good one. If you bring up the next comment from Austin, right? Because here is the perfect place to do this, right? And for this guy. And this, of all the options I've looked at, there's 3 options. I'll get to the other 2 later. But one of my favorite options is this. Cowboys to trade down, right? To the mid-teens. Somewhere between 14 and 17, somewhere around there. If you can get a deal struck, right? Especially when you think about what's going to go in the first 10 picks, right?
Oh,
so
absolutely.
You think there's going to be 4 quarterbacks, 2 offensive tackles, a wide receiver most certainly.
A corner.
A corner, probably, and a tight end, right? Carpet. So you look at that, and you have somebody like, say, Miami Dolphins, right? That are really in need of wide receiver. That's where I'd be looking. Trade down, because they're going to want to take one of the top 3 wide receivers. If 1 or 2 of them go, they're getting itchy feet. Now, I'm going to trade down there, and the next guy I'm taking, now, although he's listed as a linebacker, I have decided he's no longer a linebacker, and that is Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah.
Yeah. Like,
unbelievable.
I couldn't say that name after 5 pints.
I have been practicing.
To be fair, I would just keep calling him Jeremiah, to be fair, but yeah.
JOK is what they call it.
JOK. Yeah. It would make more logical sense if that was the case.
Man,
at the same time, it just really depends what we do get in return in terms of like if we do get a swap pick plus extras as well. Like,
I've done it a few times, and every time I take Jeremiah. This guy is the new breed, that hybrid linebacker type that we've seen coming out last year. Talk about Justin Simmons, a guy who can play across the field. You got other linebackers, the Devin White and the Devin Bushes. This guy, when you look at him, he is built more like a defensive back, like a safety. He's very, very light for a linebacker, like 210 pounds.
That's quite
he's light.
Slow, yeah.
That is light, and he's like about 6'2". But this guy is like your typical off-ball linebacker that's absolutely perfect for the Cowboys for what they're looking on defense.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the issue I have is I worry that if they try and put Jeremiah as that will type linebacker, I think he'll struggle in a base defense because he's not that type of guy. You need to keep him out of the box almost because he's so light. Because he's not going to be the type who's going to stack blocks. He's just not that type. You look at it, he's very, very light. But in terms of and you've seen it, you see it all the time. His burst to the ball is just and playing laterally. No team, if you've got whoever drafts Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, you will not be able to throw a screen pass out there because he's just got a nose for them. Screen passes with him on the team are gone. You just won't get them. And I just think that if you trade back into the teams, you get some trade value back, and then you can take JOK and you keep your draft sequence in, because now you've filled your need. That is, he's very borderline, like, you know, that strong safety hybrid type guy. But what's crazy is you still see this guy making sacks. We've done a video on him in one of our shows. Potentially, kind of like a Dan Woodson. But he like, my biggest worry is that teams will try, or even if it's the Cowboys, hopefully they don't. They see the same thing, is trying to use him as that will linebacker in a base defense. He's just not going to be able to do it, and you lose that talent then.
I don't think that's the case, mate. I really don't. Players are all, you kind of need to remember, like, especially in college, they're not just set out to one specific position. They're out there to learn other parts of that particular group of linebacker, or group of D-line, or group of cornerback. Like, and that's the thing with college football, is like, it's the flexibility of all these different types of players. Like, you've seen wide receivers convert into cornerbacks, and over the time, for example, Trayvon Diggs, he could have been a wide receiver if he wanted to be, but he's transitioned to cornerback. But the point I'm trying to make is like, from going from a Will to a Sam to a Mike, like, whatever, it shouldn't really matter unless they're being coached properly. That's the question.
Yeah. I tell you what, one thing that does work, mind you, against for his size, is getting skinny in blocks. He can do it. And that's where his sacks come from, coming through the interior and getting skinny on a block. Because he's so slight and small. And you see him doing it all the time. But, I mean, in terms of other linebackers, if you want to look further down the line, the only other guy that piques my interest early day two would be LSU's Jabril Cox. A bit more of a bulkier guy. He's got a bit more weight on him. But this is another smooth operator. I don't know. Would you want to be taking a linebacker day two? Or if you're going to take him, it's going to be Micah Parsons or JOK early. And then after that, you're moving on? No? Yes? Maybe?
Not sure. Again, mate, I literally, for one of the first times this year, I literally have no idea what we are going to actually do in the draft. I really don't. Like, I hope we do trade down. I'll be perfectly honest with you, because I think we'll actually get a lot more value for money in these guys further down the draft. Yeah.
Like, I mean, go on.
And there's been few players that we've missed out on in those later rounds that we wish that we should have drafted, like when we were like 16th and 17th and 18th placed in the draft, where we never did. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
For example, like the best example is probably TJ Watt. You know what I mean? Even though we didn't trade down, but the fact that he was there in our laps and we passed up on him. You know, what a player he could have been for us. You know, but hey hell. But when you look at all these other players that were ahead of him, like, they're not really doing as much impactful stuff. It always seems to be the players within, after pick 14 to pick 24. Like, it always seems to be the 10 to late 20s. That's where you get a really diamond in the rough that can start straight away and cause major impact for your team and change the franchise.
Yeah.
So,
but
that's where I'm kind of seeing. Like, I just hope to draw we do trade down. Because I just it's like Graham mentioned, I just don't think there is that blue chip player that is worthy within the top 10 of what we need, unless it is Penny Sewell that drops down. But I don't see that happening.
Now, Penny Sewell, there is a blue
Penny
chip.
Penny Sewell will be gone within the top 4, at least, at the very most, top 4.
I think if he escapes past Cincinnati, because Cincinnati go the other route and decide to take a wide receiver instead, then I think suddenly he becomes an option.
If Cincinnati don't draft Penny Sewell, then their organization is just the biggest pile of trash I've ever witnessed in my life.
I wouldn't honestly, like,
Rashawn Slater.
I think Rashawn Slater's a good player.
Rashawn,
Yeah.
even Rashawn Slater, I would actually draft him, to be fair, but it depends. If there was a team, like, even it just depends what other players are there available for us at the time.
Yeah.
Like, say for example, right, we had Rashawn Slater there, and we also had Kyle Pitts. They both those two players there, right? If all the other teams there, or that star wide receiver that you were saying there, Mike, we're definitely going to get more phone calls. We could still pick up Rashawn Slater maybe 2 or 3 places down, if that's the case. If they're willing to trade up.
I'm just not a fan. Like, I get the idea behind it, but for me, offensive tackle is so deep. I don't like the idea of taking an offensive tackle early, because you can find, like, there's going to be...
What do you mean taking it early, man? We've had Travis Frederick, we've had...
No, I know, but we need it. Like, you know, we were in desperate need with O-line, and we kind of are now. But what I'm saying is offensive tackle, there's going to be, in the top 100 picks, I would say at minimum, there's going to be 12 offensive tackles taken. At minimum. That's a lot.
Right, we're talking about. I've just done a quick Google there. We're talking about trading down at 10, right?
Yeah.
Let's go around the house. How often have the Cowboys traded down since 2010? According to Blogging the Boys, how many times have the Cowboys traded down in the first round?
In the first round, I would probably say once.
Zero.
Once. In 2013. So look, we have all these options, but I don't know if it's a Jerry thing to do. This is another spear to this conversation. I don't know if it's.
But here we go, right? Let's move on to the defensive back, the DB debate, right, guys? Because you're talking about trading back. I have a trade back option for you guys on the DB side that maintains draft sequencing later on down the line, fills a huge hole. And I actually believe this guy has a ceiling way more above the other guys. So let's first of all get into the debate, right? Who has who over who, right? Who has Caleb Farley over Patrick Surtain?
You're asking the wrong guy here.
No.
What about you, Jay?
No.
You got Surtain as the number one corner. Okay. Yeah. So what are your reasons for that?
Just played on that Bama defense, didn't he? And he just looks the all-round better player.
SEC competition, then, yeah. Okay. I mean, like, let's put it this way. Let's talk about Surtain first. Like, one of the things that straight away for me immediately I look at is this is a guy that played cornerback for the Alabama defense as a freshman, right? So straight away he's put into it. Now, Nick Saban is a big defensive back guy. That is what he is. He absolutely loves his team. So you look in the NFL and find cornerbacks that played on the Alabama defense as a freshman. You will literally hardly find any. You have got to be special. Surtain did it, right? He's got 4 years of tape, so you know exactly what you got. I actually put a moniker on Surtain that of all the players this year in the draft, in the NFL draft, his biggest thing is certainty. You know exactly what he is. And in this draft, with the way things have gone last year, you know, we don't need to remind you what's happened in the last year. Certainty is probably one of the biggest things you could go for. And I mean, this guy, you know, I think Caleb Farley has a higher ceiling, but Surtain's floor is much more higher because you know exactly what he is. My argument, though, in terms of weaknesses for Farley and Surtain are both the same. And that is when they play zone. They both struggle with zone, but for different reasons. Surtain struggles with zone because of his speed. Like, for a cornerback, I would actually say, because funnily enough, it's supposed to be the combine this week. Well, that isn't happening. If I was Surtain, I would not run the 40. because people will be umming and ahhing about that. Like, because he is like, for him, running a 4-5-5, that would be a win for Satan.
Yeah,
he is slow. But
for Satan, if you were to ask me if they both come into the NFL, obviously they will. Obviously they will.
Yes.
If I was to predict at the end of the 2021 season who was to have more interceptions, it would be Satan. And that is huge for us because we constantly complain about turnovers.
And what he is, Satan, is you watch it, although he's slow, there's no wasted movement. He's just like super efficient. Impressed man, you just won't beat him. He can get grabby, right? Which is what I worry about. But he knows how to hide it if you watch it. And that's the trick, making sure you've got where the refs are.
Keeps it close to his chest plate.
Yeah, but the type of player, when you start talking about that, and this is where you start licking your lips with Patrick Surtain, that you say, okay, that reminds me of a player that was on Dan Quinn's defense, and he become a lockdown corner, and that was Richard Sherman. Richard Sherman was not a fast cornerback. He was big, he was bulky, physical at the line, very handsy, got away with it. But he locked that. He locked that entire side down, and I actually think that if the Cowboys they stay with their pick and be Patrick Surtain, because Dan Quinn will say, "I know how to use this guy."
They say it doesn't matter about the speed, does it? There's awareness, especially in that position. Like say, if you want, you want someone like that that's played at a high level.
Speed is an issue.
First year at college.
Well, put this in comparison, Jamie. It's like Sean Lee's not the fastest person, but his awareness is second to none.
Exactly.
And his natural feel
of reading the play.
Yeah.
So I would rather have that. If players can see things are about to happen and react to it quick enough, great. They might not be the fastest person in terms of running or pursuit. Right now, but if they're in that position at the right place at the right time to make the tackle, make the hit, great.
See, you just like you say, you go back to, if you want to even a bigger example, the Raiders used to do it with speed up wide receiver. Darius Hayward-Bay was awful. They always should have hit Michael Crabtree.
Yeah,
remember that.
And it's just like I say, the speed just doesn't matter. Like I say, take awareness over speed.
The only problem was he couldn't catch.
He's that as well.
I mean, like both of these guys are great because, like, the other side of it is if you look at Farley, he's like the same again, which is what I mean with weaknesses. Is that impressed man? Like Caleb Farley can do it. He's absolutely great at it. In zone coverage, he struggles, but where Surtain makes up for it because there's very little wasted movement. Although he's slow, he's not really ever having to recover. Caleb Farley's the opposite. Although he struggles in zone, he's got the athleticism and the speed to make up for his mistakes. And that's why I say the ceiling's higher for Farley in comparison, because he's just got this unbelievable speed. And he's unbelievably quick. And you've got to look, right? So there's this negative as well. That Farley, I forget who he played for. So very much like Trayvon Diggs, who played wide receiver, Farley actually played running back, but I forget for who. I'd have to check it out. Anyway, he played running back, right? Then switched to cornerback. In his next year. But the issue is the year after he opted out. So there's only 1 year, which is why I'm saying, the floor with Farley is very low because you've only got 1 year. Although that 1 year was absolutely off the charts. I mean, it was insane what he did. There's only 1 year of tape on that. And I get the end of the day, people talk about this opting out. I get the reason why, right? I would never say to anybody they shouldn't have opted out. The only thing I will say is if you did opt out, I wouldn't have declared for the draft.
Well, I think this year's going to be the biggest gamble, not just for us, but every NFL team this year. It's going to be you're going to have to be gambling on players that haven't played one single snap last season.
If
there
Satan weren't there,
we go. He played running back for North Carolina, and he actually 58 touchdowns in a single season. I'm running back. So he's athletic.
Yeah.
He is crazy. And this is a guy as well who's playing cornerback behind Jeremy Okudah. That's where he came from. So you think these guys were locking it down?
Yep, DG Dog just kind of backing up your statement there. Fairly.
Yeah. But here we go.
Superior athlete. Satane, better technique and Horn, better athlete than Satane, but grabs too much. Free turnabouts are close on draft boards. Yep.
Yeah. Like my issue with Satan is the hands. I worry about how many flags that's going to draw. But you talked about JC Horn, right? Now, believe it or not, this is, of all the options when I've done drafts, this is my favorite because it works out absolutely amazing. We talked about trading back, right? Trading back is an option down into the teens. You trade back and you draft this guy, JC Horn. I actually believe that of anyone who has the potential to outplay the guys above him in the draft board, is this guy. This guy's ceiling is higher than Satan and Farley. His floor is right down. This guy is absolutely amazing. Played for the Gamecocks, right? And he has all the physical tools. And he, you know, like with corners, if you make a mistake, mentally you've got to shrug it off, click it off, get going, ignore it. This guy does that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Although he makes very few mistakes, you do see it. Playing on the outside edge, you know, man corner, he's going to grill you every time. Stays on routes, physical at route stems as well. Just will not get stacked. He just will not allow himself to get stacked. At the catch point, he's got everything there. The size. Hold on, let me bring up his measurables for you so you can get some ideas. So 6 foot, just over 6'1". So when you think the Dan Quinn as well, for what they like, those tall, rangy, you know, those type guys. I mean, this guy's got it all, right? And what his highlights as well. Watch the highlight tape on him, and you're just like, wow, who the hell is this player? And I just think trading back, when we were talking about it earlier, trading back and then getting a cornerback, JC Horn is the guy I would be doing it for every time. Every time.
Is he not in the top 2 conversation because he's from South Carolina?
Yeah. So,
or is there that much of a gap?
He does draw a lot of penalties. He has drawn penalties. Like, not what he's doing wrong, but like drawing offside, getting jumpy. You see a lot of that.
Trigger happy.
He very much is. And his tackling. Does have issues with tackling. So that's why
that's the last thing we need after last season.
Yeah, but the thing is what I'm saying, this is why I'm saying is why his floor is so low. But when you think about it, if you said his tackling he's got issues with and penalties from being drawn off sides, are they things that are coachable? Very much so.
Of course.
Is it coachable very quick? Yes, it is very quick. With Dan Quinn,
especially with Dan Quinn. Yeah,
who's made Pro Bowlers from like nothing at cornerback. 100%.
I hear a lot of coaches say, I can't coach height and I can't coach speed, but I can coach everything else. So Jace Horn seems to fall into that category.
Yeah. And he's got the pedigree as well. His dad played in the NFL as well.
He's not the only one.
Yeah,
there's another corner we'll get to.
Yeah, his dad played wide receiver, so there you go. But I honestly, you need to go watch it. hold on. Let me try and get some stats on JC. I put one up on UK Cowboys before, and it's like when you listen to it, you're just like, what? Let me try and find that particular stat, and it's something absolutely crazy. Like he allowed like 2 catches in like 7 games or something. It's honestly, it's something that ridiculous because he's just that shut down. But if you've got another corner in mind, give it to us then, Gray. Who have you got?
Asante Samuel Jr., Florida State.
Asante Samuel. Yes.
Whose
so
father,
give it to us. Yes.
Whose father was an Eagle cornerback. That's where we're going with that one. So if the name sounds familiar,
is there anything? So would you think though, for a guy like Asante Samuel, then would you want to trade back even further than where you're at now to get a guy like that?
There's definitely a gap. There's definitely a gap. I'm just thinking if you were to go alternate, if you didn't go corner with your first pick, you're talking about Samuel, but he's not. I wouldn't go top half of the draft of the first round, certainly.
Okay.
You might go later, day 1. I'm thinking day 2 with that. It was just I just thought it was a nice little segue when we started talking about relatives in the NFL.
Yeah. Patrick Surtain's dad as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to kind of point out what Lauren just made there, like he makes a great point. Dion wasn't necessarily the biggest tackler in the NFL, and look at the career that he had.
Yeah, I mean Deion Sanders was more just chuck himself at the guy and knock him down, sort of type tackler, you know. But also he liked to make plays on the ball.
Tackling at all. He was more.
It was the play on the ball.
Yeah, he was basically trying to grab the ball from every chance he could get, rather than focusing the tackle.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, it is true. But let's look at the safeties, then we can wrap things up then, right, guys? Let's start off with both of TCU safeties, which is crazy to say. Start off with Trayvon Moehrig. If there was to go for any safety in the first round, this would be my guy. I don't know what you guys think. Like, more than anything, it's the height, because the other guy, Darius Washington, is very short. Trayvon Moehrig is 6'2", so there's that, and he has absolute insane ball production. I'll try and get some stats up for you now. But what about you, Gray? I can see you eager to talk about him. Hit me with it.
He's very, very versatile, and he's the polar opposite to Jalen Smith in that he knows exactly what he wants to do straight away. Mm-hmm. That was my 2 kind of points. Definitely a first round talent. Definitely a first round. He's the complete, not complete, obviously, because he's a college player, but he has the potential to be a Swiss Army knife. You know, we don't like to talk about Swiss Army knives, so he does. I don't think he does anything poorly.
There aren't many holes in his game.
Yeah,
there aren't many holes.
Yeah.
Again, this keeps going back to what I keep saying, is like these players that were further back down in the draft, there's lesser flaws from what we're seeing.
Well, I mean, like what's
I don't understand
crazy is Moehrig is probably your top safety in this year's draft, and I would say he's a borderline first round player, but I think he will go first round because there'll be teams willing to go for him. Like, he's very rangy. Like, I don't know what his arm length is, but you can see it. Like, you could even, I wouldn't want to, but he could hold up like further into the box, like very close in the box, almost like a linebacker, if you really wanted to. My only issue with him is that we've already got a guy like that, Donovan Wilson.
Yeah.
And I'm really looking at free safety. And Trayvon Moehrig, as good as he is, I can't see him playing single high. Maybe the cover three he could play, which is Dan Quinn's wheelhouse, but I just worry about him playing single high. The other guy, though, Darius Washington, is like the complete opposite. Now, he's got the ball skills, but he's listed as 5'8", and I don't even think he's that tall. And for a safety, I worry about that. Yeah, 5 foot, barely.
Jesus, Rosie may as well get Gandalf to pick him out of the bloody crowd. Absolute hobbit.
Right,
Football terms.
like what's crazy though is Washington, I would say, has a higher ceiling than Morig. He is feisty and he's got the instincts, which is what Morig lacks. So whereas Morig, he's got the height and the arm length and the speed to catch up. I mean, we'll get to Richie Grant, who's the next guy who we did talk about. I tell you who Darius Washington has been very comped by is the Honey Badger.
Yeah. Yep.
And like you see it all the time. And and the Honey Badger is like 5'9".
Mm-hmm. But he's always one of these players around the ball.
Yes.
Whether he's making a tackle or an interception, he affects the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But this is a guy again that I don't want him in a single high. He needs to be in the cover 3 or the cover 2. You know, like the too high, in the too high role.
Yeah.
Because I think on his own he's struggling, just like Tyron. You know, we talk about that. You know, just like Honey Badger, he's gonna struggle like that. You know.
Yeah. But I mean, is it too far to say that the Cowboys always scream out for a safety, and this isn't really the draft to fix that either? Like this,
you can in the second round.
It's going to prolong. Just in terms of first, but yeah, it's going to be the right player falling to the right pick. That's the only time we're going to address safety. Like, we're not going to jump up to get a safety, if you know what I mean. It's going to linger on unless somebody falls into our lap in the second, third, maybe.
Yeah.
Like we say, like Richie Grant. Well, we'll get to him. But it's not. I don't think it's something we could address in the first round. I don't think there's.
No, we need to trade down.
Yeah, for that. Like, definitely second round is really, if you're going to take safety, but Richie Grant could fall into the third if you want to talk about this guy. And I put a stat up on Richie Grant this week that he was actually the best safety versus the run in run defense. Then, if you like, of all the safeties, he had the highest grade and the most stats against the run. So he's there already. But this guy I quite like because he does fit that mold of what you're talking about, Gray, with being able to play if you wanted to in the single high, if you really wanted to go down that road. He is that guy that could do it. His processing speed, absolutely unbelievable. His issue is his actual speed. So he is a slower guy. And his other issue as well is his age. That I think by the time June comes around, I think it is, or July, he'll be 24. Which is obviously, you know.
Yeah, I mean, by the time we reach his second contract, he'll be 28.
Yeah, and you're going to be looking really at fine. Yeah,
not ideal.
It's not a great investment, not for the first round anyway.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, I mean, like he's got some physical traits, but you know he knows what he's doing instinctually. It's there. He's watching the quarterback. He's watching where he's trying to, and he does it on the pre-snap too, and a very solid tackler. So you know you were talking about tackling issues. This guy does not have tackling issues whatsoever.
And just another point in general, I just think that, like, with speed at safety, it's so important nowadays. I mean, you only have to look at the Chiefs' offense. If you are slow in the back end, the Chiefs will kill you. They'll kill you with speed. And the difference is they actually have guys that come down with the ball. So it's so important at the safety position.
And Mike's disappeared.
And he has, yeah. He's off to run his 40. He's just he's going to go and show us how important speed is.
He's got to chase after the dog, run his 40. Oh, here he comes. Right, that was done in 4.3 seconds, mate.
Mike, that is incredible.
4.3 seconds for a 40-yard dash, mate. Fucking outstanding, mate.
I wish I could run that speed. I'd be making more money, but I mean, the only other guy really in terms of who I'd be interested in terms of safety, I did safety. If we're looking at anyone else, Elijah Molden from Washington Huskies, but cornerback, a guy who could get into day 3 that I really like, and is probably the fastest guy in this draft, would be Eric Stokes. Love it. Very grabby is his issue, though. But I've read.
We need to think of a better term for that, because that does not sound so well.
Yeah, I mean, but this guy, honestly, I think I read somewhere he's in his high school or state or something. He actually has, in whatever grade he was in, like the 100-meter record. That's how fast he is. Like he runs like a 10-3 100-meter, which is unbelievable. That's rapid. So when you were talking about speed, this is here he is.
So
really
important.
Quick.
It really is important.
In this, with the way things are going nowadays, where everything's really predicated on speed. You look at the fastest teams in the NFL, especially on offense, are the teams in the playoff. So now it's time for the defense to catch up and get faster. So that would be my next guy, really. And a lot of people as well talk about the Syracuse cornerback, Ifeatu Melifonwu, who's Obi's younger brother. There's another name. But apart from that, are there any other defensive back guys that you guys want to talk about before we wrap things up? No? If you've got anyone else, try and bring it up. I mean, like after that, I think the day 3 guys in defensive back talk, I'm not really fond of, to be honest with you. Outside the top 100, the only one is Kelvin Joseph from Kentucky. He might be the only guy I'd look at, down that road, but that's about it. But you've got nobody else that you're looking at, guys? Oh, there we go. Yeah. And that's the issue with Kelvin. He does have a lot of off-field issues.
It doesn't make it the first time the Cowboys have done something like that, get a play with off-field issues.
Yeah,
we were talking about one of them earlier.
The CBS website has a Javon Holland.
Javon Holland, yeah.
Javon Holland.
No,
he's ranked number 1.
No. I'm not.
It doesn't seem to be a particularly deep safety group. That's why I think it's going to be another season where we don't address safety. I just think with the needs across the team, we're just going to have to live with safety. I think the cornerback position is a lot more of a focus in Dan Quinn's system. So
yeah,
to be fair, I'm really interested to see how he utilises Donovan Wilson. To be fair.
Yeah. I'm not a fan though.
Because he was pretty much a light of our darkest days in that defense at some point. Him and Trayvon, at least Wilson actually brought the hammer down with the hits. Him running speedily across to make some plays. That is exactly what you want from your safety, to make those big hits when you really when you're compromised. He's there to stop it as the last line of defense.
Yeah. But I mean, going back to Holland, I'm not particularly fond. He's got the stats, he's got the pass breakups, the interceptions, and you're like, wow, yes. And you can see because that's the instincts. He plays with good instincts. He's not fast though. He's doesn't have burst, doesn't have range. Gets beaten on double moves, struggles with the slot, and he's opted out. Didn't see much of him in 2019 either.
Yeah.
It's really? Wow. Do you know who he reminds me of? Clinton Dix.
Oh God! Right. Okay.
And we didn't see much of him.
No.
We didn't see much of him. Just before we close out the show, do we think we'll see any super seniors? Is it super seniors they're calling them? Where they go back for another year?
There are some that are going back, yeah. There have been some that have, because they got the extra year of eligibility because of what's happened. Some have gone back, yeah. There are a couple of quarterbacks too.
Wise decision. And
I think so.
This year,
like I said earlier, I've got no problems with players opting out with everything that's gone on. I completely understand it and totally agree. I just have a problem with those players who have opted out then going into the draft. I just think, you want to see some more production, especially from the guys who like, the juniors and what have you, or redshirt sophomores. So you just want to see some more production just to see if they get better. Not that they can repeat it, but to see if they get better. And that's what it is.
It's almost as if Penny So can only hurt his stock. And that's why he's a stick on.
Like, would I go back? It would depend what year I'm in and how much of a year I've got going on. I probably would.
It just depends on the individual situation, doesn't it?
It does.
Exactly. There's that too. Yeah.
Are you needed to bring food to the table and all that kind of stuff, even on the basic human level like that? Do you need to go and get a job, effectively?
Yeah. Yes. But have you guys got anything more to add before we wrap things up here? Jamie, you've been fairly quiet.
No, not from me.
You've just been sitting there drinking beer.
Yeah.
You and me both, brother.
I'm slightly concerned that we haven't got anybody done yet, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Because it's a fairly lengthy
many
list.
teams have, though. I don't think many teams have actually done any. To be fair, I don't think many teams have. It has been very quiet overall across the NFL. I don't think many teams have actually re-signed many people yet.
More than anything, it's been taking players from other teams.
It's just been trades with other teams more than anything.
Yeah. Which is and some really wild trades. It's been the opposite. But I think more than anything, I think it's more of the wariness because teams don't know what's going on with salary caps because, you get issues of how much is it going to be? They've set the minimum or what's the maximum. It's just really more than anything uncertainty and trying to find out what is going to be the score. And I think that's what the issue lies in because teams need to know how much of a cap percentage am I giving to this free agent? How much am I giving to JJ Watt is still available. Nobody's approached him. How much are teams offering? Because they don't know how much of their cap percentage they'll be blowing on him. And there's your issue.
You will get packed up once
100%. Well, once things peter out and people know what's going on, then you can start blowing your money. And I think more than anything, because next week's show is actually the free agent review, because the free agent market's coming up. Next week, we've got looking at all the free agents and looking really who are the guys Dallas could potentially aim for. So we'll look at that and go from there. Maybe we'll get some more news about the cap situation, But again, this is the same thing again. How much do you offer? But how much do you offer? You don't know. There's just there's that level of uncertainty. But one thing I do think the Cowboys need to start doing, I don't know if you guys agree, that they always seem to draft really, really well, the Cowboys. They do draft well. And, you can talk about misses the Cowboys have had.
It's mostly the first round. It's mostly the first round we've had a couple of mess ups, but when you put it in the grand scheme of things,
overall,
we've been decent. I wouldn't say amazing, but I think I'm definitely above average.
Yeah. 100%. But I think where the Cowboys fall down is where they do their evaluation and aggressiveness in the free agent market. I think that's where
we lack. It's free agency. That's where we really do truly lack. And last season proved that substantially. And don't worry. I'm not going to mention the prick's name. Don't worry. But you get the point. I'm not mentioning it. You get the point. The fact is, we didn't like of all the players that we did sign in free agency. How many of them did actually are still part of the team? Well, obviously, besides the case of Jared McCoy, who might re-sign because he was out injured for the whole season, but the mass majority of all those other players, like, they're no longer with us anymore.
But that's what you get. That's what you get when you shop for free agents and the discount bin.
Yep.
I mean, you see these graphs all the time from NFL Network and so on. You know, X team has X amount of million cap to play with. We're never in the top 10. We're rarely in the top 15.
It's because they spend too much money on some unusual places. I tell you what it is as well, is being too slow. Like, take, for instance, the Dak situation is another good example. That they just take too long to sign their own players, so the price gets more and more and more. If you just struck it early, a team that's really good for doing that with their own players is the Vikings. The Vikings are really good at retaining their own players and not really spending big on doing it. I don't know where they rank, mind you, at the moment. I could be.
You can say the exact same. To be fair, you can actually see that now with the Browns right now. How they've managed
Browns
to retain
efficient, and retention. You do it early
enough.
enough.
Never used to be.
You'll get
used to be.
No, but you do things early enough. You do your business early enough with players, and they'll give you that team friendly deal, if you like. You know, rather than the way the Cowboys do it and drag things out for whatever reason. They're quite slow, and then that ends up driving up the price. But as I say, next week, guys, the free agent review, where we're going to look at some free agents out on the market, give some rankings. You can get involved as well at home. Tell us who you think, who you like. But that is this week's show. That is from us. We will be, as I say, back next Thursday. Monday. Yes, Jamie is very excited on this one. There is huge news coming out Monday morning. So be sure to check out, and if you're watching this after Monday, go on to our page or Twitter, check out the video. We have huge news about Draft Day, the show. I really can't say much. Jamie, do you want to say anything about it?
Just, like Mike says, just tuning. Like I said, I don't think anybody will believe what's going to happen.
Put it this way, okay? People are asking for hints. Yeah, it's not been done in the UK yet. NFL UK spoken to, they love it. Dallas Cowboys we've spoken to, they love it. Let's just say a lot of people are involved in it. A lot of organization. It's for Draft Day, right? And people asking, we got Dak. Shall I drop that hint? I will drop the hint. It's bigger than Dak, right? Oh yeah, it is. It is.
There's not many more bigger, is there?
No, there is not. But just stay tuned. Look out for it on Monday. The advert will be dropping along with everything else. More details to follow. There is so much involved. You guys are going to love it. It is really, really cool. We're looking forward to doing it. But that is it for now. I'm going to leave it right there before I give too much away. But from myself, from Paul Graham and Jamie, my three wise kings, we will see you all Monday and then again on Thursday.
All right, guys.
That is, yes.
See you next time.